Former Tottenham Hotspur owner Joe Lewis has avoided jail after pleading guilty to insider trading and conspiracy charges. The Brit billionaire, 87, spilled secrets to his girlfriend, private pilots, family and friends as part of a brazen multi-year scheme said to have earned his inner circle millions.
Lewis arrived at a New York court on Thursday, wearing an eye patch and a pair of dark sunglasses, and was shielded from the media by security. He held a scarf over his face as an unknown woman covered him with her coat. It was later revealed that the billionaire will avoid being sent to prison for insider trading, after U.S. District Judge Jessica Clark sentenced him to a $5 million, £4 million fine and 3 years probation.
Lewis pleaded guilty in January to 1 count of conspiracy and 2 counts of securities fraud. Read more on Joe Lewis. Footy wrap. Tottenham billionaire Joe Lewis pleads guilty to U.S. insider trading scheme. Encore. Blimey Jay-Z, plotting £2.
$2 billion Tottenham takeover. After Joe Lewis fraud arrest, federal sentencing guidelines had called for a prison sentence of up to 2 years, but the judge was not bound by them. The ex-Spurs chief, understood to be worth $6.2 billion, £4.8 billion, gave up control of the club in October 2022, but his family trust still owns the majority of it.
London-bred Lewis, who now lives in the Bahamas, was expected to serve 18 months to 2 years behind bars. However, prosecutors argued his age, significant medical issues, willingness to stand trial in the U.S. and otherwise law-abiding life had earned him leniency.
Most read in football SWAP shop transfer recommendations for GW30 familiar favourites and smart differentials. Caught offside. Prem star caught cheating by wife who saw him with model on doorbell camera. Off the mark. Neville and Keane genuinely worried about Man United star Marcus Rashford. RIP Luke. South African football star, 24, tragically shot dead in failed hijacking. As part of his plea deal, Lewis had the right to appeal in the event he is sentenced to prison time. At his January hearing, the businessman admitted that he agreed in 2019 to share secrets about publicly traded companies with several individuals.
Tottenham billionaire Joe Lewis pleads guilty to U.S. insider trading scheme. He told the court that he was so embarrassed as he apologized for his conduct. Prosecutors said that his company, Broad Bay Limited, and Lewis would pay $50 million, £38 million, in financial penalties, the largest financial penalty for insider trading in a decade.
Lewis counts himself within the 500 richest people in the world, with a mega property portfolio across the world, a $250 million, £190 million yacht, private planes worth $90 million, £70 million, and an art collection valued $100 million, £80 million. In July of last year, Lewis was charged with passing inside information on his portfolio companies to his inner circle.
The tips enabled him to reap millions of dollars of profit, according to prosecutors. He was charged with 16 counts of securities fraud and 3 counts of conspiracy for crimes spanning from 2013 to 2021.
Prosecutors branded his actions as classic corporate corruption carried out by orchestrating a brazen insider trading scheme. In new court papers, prosecutors said Lewis learned secrets about public companies after making large investments.
They said that on at least 4 occasions, he tipped off his girlfriend, personal pilots, employees and friends, enabling them to heavily profit from the secrets. This insider trading was not the result of aberrant, one-time conduct, but rather, a troubling pattern of misconduct over the course of several years, they wrote.
Prosecutors said it was possible that the insider activity resulted from hubris, ego, a desire to make a financial gift without parting with his own money, an irrational form of greed, or some other reason. But, regardless, it is clear that Lewis believed he was above the law, that he had achieved a level of wealth and stature that relieved him from having to operate by the same rules that apply to everyday investors, prosecutors said.
Appeals for leniency. From the start, Lewis was no ordinary defendant. After his arrest less than a year ago, he was freed on a $300 million, £237 million, bail after putting up a yacht and private plane as collateral. Lewis is limited to traveling between New York, Florida and Georgia, where he owns property.
Lewis' lawyers had appealed for leniency, based on arguments that he is nearing the end of life with declining health and the court's probation office recommendation of no prison time, a fine and 3 years on probation. Read more. Son STORIESDINE and Cashwoman sparks debate by saying she asks for service charge to be removed. SP Ritzy Molly May shows off £1.
$9K perfume collection. Despite being slammed for showing off, his defense said that if he received no prison time, he will immediately leave the U.S. His conviction will mean he cannot return to see his children, grandchildren and great-grandchildren, who live in the U.S.
The glitzy rise of Joe Lewis. Brit billionaire businessman Joe Lewis has been sentenced for insider trading. Here is the rise and fall of the ex-Spurs chief. After quitting school at the age of 15, entrepreneurial Lewis went to work for his dad's catering company.
Lewis began managing a super club called the Talk of the Town, where the likes of Frank Sinatra performed, in the 1960s, and granted girl group the Nolans their first live show. He then got a taste for business and took over the firm, turning it into a string of restaurants before flogging it in 1979 for a whopping £30 million.
Lewis used his cash influx to invest in currency trading and was subbed the boxer in a nod to his wild success and power in the investment ring. Lewis forked out £22 million in 2001 to buy a controlling stake in Tottenham Hotspur from Lord Sugar.
One particular investment on Black Wednesday in September 1992 helped elevate him to uber-rich status, as he successfully bet on the pound crashing out of the European exchange rate as Britain tried to align it with other Euro countries. He became a billionaire overnight. And the financial magic trick worked again years later with a big short against the Mexican peso.
Along the way, Lewis founded Bahamas-based investment firm Tavistock Group, which he has propelled into one of the most dominant private equity firms in the world. But it's not been all work and no play for Lewis, who has spent eye-watering sums on luxury items, homes, art and a super yacht worth £190 million, which can house up to 16 guests.
In 2022, Lewis made history by selling David Hockney's 1972 piece, Portrait of an Artist, Pool with Tall Figures. Having owned the piece since 1995, Lewis auctioned it off for £70.3 million, setting a new record for artwork by a living artist.
However, his life of glamour, football and boats all came crashing down when U.S. prosecutors charged him with insider trading and conspiracy in July 2023. They accused him of tipping off his girlfriend, jet pilots and other members of his inner circle with insider secrets that helped them make millions over several years.
On January 24, 2024, he pleaded guilty to security fraud. On April 4, 2024, Lewis was sentenced by a New York court.